Let's take a moment to think about something. Have you ever wondered what it takes to rise from a life of poverty to becoming one of the most influential billionaires in the world? The story of Roman Abramovich is one of those that can make you question fate, luck, and sheer determination. Roman's story is not just about money, it's about survival, ambition, and making the most out of a tough hand dealt by life. It's time to dive into his story. Born in Saratov, Russia, on October 24, 1966, Roman Arkadiyevich Abramovich's early years weren't exactly filled with luxury or privilege. In fact, they were the opposite. Abramovich's mother, Irina, passed away when he was just a year old, and his father, Aaron, died soon after in a tragic construction accident. Just like that, young Roman was left an orphan at the tender age of 2. Just think about that for a second. No parents, growing up in a harsh Soviet-era world where wealth was scarce and opportunities were even scarcer. But let's not dwell too much on the sadness because this is a story about rising from the ashes, right? Abramovich was raised by his relatives in the cold, remote region of Komi in northern Russia. It was here, amidst snow-covered streets and rugged landscapes, that he learned one of the most important lessons in life: survival. And boy, did that skill come in handy. Early hustle. From doll making to oil tycoon. Here's where the story starts to get a little more interesting. It was the late 1980s, the Soviet Union was crumbling, and there was a sense of opportunity in the air for those who were bold enough to seize it. Roman, despite his humble beginnings, was one of those people. In 1988, while still doing his military service, Abramovich set up his first business. And guess what it was? Dolls. Yep, you heard that right, dolls. Who would have thought that a young man hustling dolls would end up as one of the wealthiest individuals on the planet? This was during a time known as perestroika, a period when the Soviet Union was loosening its economic restrictions and allowing private enterprise to flourish. Abramovich capitalized on this new freedom and began dabbling in various industries, from timber to sugar to oil. His business acumen was sharp, and it wasn't long before he expanded into oil conglomerates and trading in a variety of goods. Talk about someone who knew how to diversify. But things weren't always smooth sailing. In 1992, Abramovich faced a bit of a hiccup when he was arrested in a case of theft of government property. Luckily for him, the charges were dropped, but it was a stark reminder of the murky waters he was wading into. A partnership that changed everything. Meeting Boris Berezovsky. You know how sometimes in life you meet someone who completely changes your trajectory? That's what happened when Roman met Boris Berezovsky in the early 1990s. Berezovsky was a well-connected businessman with ties to the Kremlin, and together they formed a partnership that would catapult Abramovich into the big leagues. In 1995, the pair acquired a controlling interest in the massive oil company, Sibneft, through a rigged auction. Now, before you start thinking about some shady backroom deals, let's just say this was all part of the controversial loans for shares program that the Russian government was running at the time. The company's stock market value was $150 million, but Abramovich and Berezovsky paid a mere $100 million each for their stake. To give you a sense of how wild this was, the company was worth $2.7 billion at the time. Talk about a steal. With his foot firmly in the oil industry, Abramovich's wealth began to skyrocket. By 2000, Sibneft was producing $3 billion worth of oil annually. However, as the money rolled in, so did the dangers. Abramovich once famously said he was hesitant to get into the aluminum industry because every 3 days someone was murdered in that business. Yikes. But don't worry, Roman was no pushover. In 2005, he sold Sibneft to the Russian government for a whopping $13 billion. That's the kind of deal that makes you sit back and wonder if you should have gotten into oil trading. The Chelsea Football Club era, a love for the game. Here's a fun twist in Abramovich's journey. In June 2003, Roman did something that would forever endear him to football fans around the world. He bought Chelsea Football Club. Now, if you're not a football fan, this might not seem like a big deal. But trust me, in the world of sports, this was massive. Roman didn't just buy a football team, he transformed it. At the time, Chelsea wasn't the powerhouse it is today, but Abramovich had a vision. He poured money into the club, signed top players, and brought in world-class managers like Jose Mourinho. Under his ownership, Chelsea went on to win 18 major trophies, including the coveted UEFA Champions League. One thing that really set Abramovich apart from other club owners was his passion. This wasn't just a rich guy buying a team for the sake of it. He was at nearly every game, cheering from the stands, and sometimes even getting emotional when things didn't go Chelsea's way. Imagine your billionaire boss showing up at work every day and being emotionally invested in your success. That was Roman at Chelsea. But the road wasn't always smooth. In 2021, Abramovich faced criticism for attempting to join Chelsea in the European Super League, a competition that was widely condemned for prioritizing greed over the love of the game. Thankfully, Abramovich pulled Chelsea out of the league just 2 days after joining, much to the relief of fans. Legal battles and sanctions. Roman's life hasn't been without its fair share of controversies and legal battles. In 2011, Boris Abramovich sued him for over $4 billion in damages, accusing him of blackmail and breach of trust. In 2012, Abramovich won the case. In 2022, Abramovich's ties to Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin were scrutinized following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The UK government froze his assets, including Chelsea Football Club, forcing Abramovich to sell the team. Despite the sanctions, Abramovich managed to maintain his wealth and played a role in peace negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. He was even poisoned during peace talks, but survived. Oligarch life, billionaire with a global footprint. By now, you might be wondering, what does a man with billions of dollars actually do with all that cash? When delving into Abramovich's wealth, it's not just numbers on paper, it's all about the lifestyle. Let's start with his jaw-dropping properties. In 2009, he shelled out around $100 million for a 15-bedroom mansion in London's exclusive Kensington Palace Gardens. This place isn't just a house, it's a palace located on one of the most expensive streets in the world. Can you picture living there? And if that wasn't enough, he also bought 4 townhouses on New York's Upper East Side for $74 million. That's right, 4. He planned to combine them into one enormous mansion measuring 400 square feet. Oh, and the renovation alone is estimated to cost him an additional $100 million. So, if you're ever strolling through the Upper East Side, keep an eye out for this mega mansion. You won't miss it. You know you've made it when your yacht fleet is nicknamed Abramovich's Navy. This man is obsessed with luxury yachts, and we're not talking about the average millionaire's boat. His most famous yacht, Eclipse, is a whopping 533 feet long and costs around $400 million to build. It's so big it even has 2 helicopter pads, swimming pools, a cinema, and a submarine. Oh, and it's decked out with bulletproof windows and armor plating because, safety first when you're sailing the seas. But wait, there's more. Abramovich owns other yachts, like Solaris and Garçon, and he previously had yachts like Pelorus and Extasia. His yacht collection is so extensive that he even gifted one of his yachts, Le Grand Bleu, to a friend. Now that's a friendship goal. Of course, when you're a billionaire, yachts aren't enough. You need a private jet too. Abramovich's Boeing 767, nicknamed the Bandit, was his personal flying palace for years. This jet wasn't just luxurious, it was practically a fortress. It had missile avoidance systems similar to Air Force One just in case. Can you imagine flying in something like that? But in 2021, he decided to upgrade and traded it in for a Boeing 787 Dreamliner. A casual move, right? When Abramovich isn't jet-setting or yachting, he's spending millions on art and throwing legendary parties. He's known for hosting jaw-dropping New Year's Eve celebrations, including one where the Red Hot Chili Peppers performed for his guests, who included celebrities like George Lucas and Martha Stewart, and he reportedly spent around $6 million on the event. As for art, Abramovich doesn't shy away from splashing out. In 2008, he spent over $86 million on a Francis Bacon painting and another $33 million on a work by Lucian Freud. His art collection is just as jaw-dropping as his real estate and yachts. Today, Abramovich's net worth is estimated at $9.9 billion. It's incredible how far he's come from his humble beginnings. From the streets of Soviet Russia to the top of the world's elite, Abramovich's story is nothing short of inspiring. And whether it's his mega mansions, his navy of yachts, or his luxurious private jets, one thing's for sure: he knows how to live life to the fullest. But here's the thing about Abramovich. Despite his vast wealth, he's also known for his philanthropy. In 1999, he became the governor of the remote Russian province of Chukotka. And while many thought this was just a political move, Roman proved them wrong by investing over 1.3 billion US dollars in the region. He built schools, hospitals, and infrastructure, raising the quality of life for the people living there. The legacy of a self-made oligarch. So, what can we learn from Roman Abramovich's incredible journey? For one, it's a story of resilience. Despite losing his parents at a young age and growing up in a tough environment, Abramovich never let his circumstances define him. He hustled, he took risks, and he made strategic moves that turned him into one of the most powerful oligarchs in the world. And that's a wrap. If you enjoyed the journey from rags to riches, don't forget to hit like, drop a comment, share this story, and subscribe for more luxury tales. See you in the next one.